Well, hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Ladies Listen Never. We are still on It's Story Time, and it's going to be a really, really fun session today, right? Or conversation today. That's what we're going to have a conversation today, and we're going to talk about this. We're going to continue table for one, and we're talking about, why aren't you married yet? But before we get started, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Share this information with somebody else. We're having a ball over here on this singles vlog, right? So before we get started though, let's grab grandma's cookie jar, right? Let's look and see what grandma's cookie jar have for us today. And I have to wink today because I actually did pull one out that I put one in here that we talked about a little bit earlier last week because it fits today's topic very, very well. Whoops, I just dumped grandma's cookie jar, but you know what? That's not going to be a blooper because we are going to keep it moving, right? Grandma's cookie jar. I got the nugget, y'all. I saved the nugget. It says, be your best self now, right? Be your best self now. And I think that's one of the things that, I think one of the things I've been guilty of looking at the destination and not enjoying the journey. How many of us do that? How many of us we don't enjoy the journey? And the journey is right now. It's the stories that are formulating as we go along our path. So we've started a single woman's book club, if you will, right? So I don't know, maybe the men will listen to and they'll get some, maybe some tips or some things about, the other side of it, right? The flip side of things of what we go through as single women, navigating through the dating relationships. And I'm going to tell y'all, I'm not sure if I'm going to share this yet, but I've had some doozies, right? Man, I tell you, well, let's get into our topic before I get to diversing, right? Today's mug of the day says, I got it from my mama. And let me tell y'all, it's a little different because it's a little hibiscus, cinnamon, apple cider vinegar. I made a tea out of it, and it's got a little blueberry in it. It's a little tangy too, but I like those strong, bold, tangy tastes, or taste. So before we go any further, let's talk about this chapter that we're on. We're on chapter 1, right? The book, the link to purchase the book will be in the description. And we are working on doing a panel of single women so we can have these discussions, right? So I'm gonna get a little bit further in the book, and this is January now, so by February we're going to have it together where we can have a group discussion so we can really dive into some of the issues that we have as single women going through this dating whole thing, right? And some of the things that people say to you would be absolutely like, it just kind of think, did you really think about that before you said that to me, right? So getting into Cameron Courtney's, chapter of why aren't we married yet? Why aren't you married yet? One of the reasons why I stepped into this side of it because I saw a lot of vlogs about happy married couples, right? And it just kind of threw me into my reading that I started earlier with Table for One, okay? So because, I think oftentimes as a society, we see that, the goal is to get married when that is not everybody's goal, right? Some people, believe it or not, are really content with where they are in their lives. Not saying that that's not something they want to do eventually, but they may just be happy where they are. And so we kind of force our, thoughts and opinions on people and feel like just because you are single or because you are a table for one, that you're not okay, right? So let's get down to some of the issues that we may have, right? Some of the issues that we may be facing. It kind of talked about it right in the first chapter. And again, the reason why we're doing this is because we're talking about balance. We do a lot on our channel. We're the overall wellness of life. And you might say, goodness, you're over here, you're over here, you're over here. But there's overall wellness talks about our mind, our body, our spirit, and definitely our purse, right? Are some things that we talk about with our money, but we want to make sure that we are talking about the overall wellness. And the overall wellness is dealing with some of the issues, and some of the issues is, in the single life, right? So in the single life, one of the questions that I think I'm gonna scream. Little emoji where head pop off. If one more person asks me this question, I am going to scream for sure. Why aren't you married yet, right? And they go into, naming some of your qualities or finer qualities, and then they say, "But why aren't you married?" So I think my question or my answer is, I actually have not met anybody that meets my energy, right? It's a compatibility thing, right? It's not that, if I wanted to be, or oftentimes if we want to be, we could be in a relationship, but is it a relationship that we're settling? Because it's not checking off our boxes. And not saying that anything is 100% perfect, because we come to the relationship and we're not perfect, right? So we're imperfect human beings. However, I believe that we can at least get 80%, and 80 to 85, maybe 90%. That's not settling in my book, right? Now, this is my opinion, right? So I think that's the issue. Oftentimes, we settle. And why? Because when you settle, whatever somebody is right now, they're going to be 10 times that when they get, especially when they get married, right? So you want to make sure that I say interrogation, and people have always talked about, well, interrogation, that's kind of harsh. No, it's the truth. You do want the interrogation period. That interrogation is so important that you really, really, really understand who you are linking with. We do more and on the side of, our accountant, or our, shoot, I think we even look at the reviews on a restaurant even longer than we do reviewing a person, or having an interrogation of the person that we're going to spend our time with, partner with, maybe even combine our finances with. We do all of this checking. We even check different stores for different types of shoes or whatever. But when it comes to that person that you're going to wake up to on the opposite side of you every morning, we don't do any type of like real checking into who this person is. Do what they say align with what they do. What they say, does it match? Does the actions speak louder than words, right? But I think your word, your commitment, all of that matters, right? And so oftentimes we're rushing and rushing again to get to the destination and not enjoying the journey, because we are unfolding our own story, right? We're writing our own story. We are the author, and the, you know conductor of our own play, right? Of our lives. And I think if we stepped outside of that and thought about it, we make some different choices. And also, if we look at ourselves and start doing all of the work. That's why I love Iyanla Vanzant fixed my life, right? I love her because it dealt with the issues that we may be suppressing, or we talked about having our a trauma. So a trauma happens, and we're not operating in our full self, because we're operating and making decisions out of a traumatized portion or piece of ourselves. So it's just so important that we look at the full picture, because if the goal is to have a healthy, whole healthy, or like I said, overall wellness picture, then in order to have that, there's some work that we must do on ourselves. But it's our responsibility to do the work on our partners. And I think as women, that is one of the issues that we have. We're going around trying to fix people instead of seeing what's really there. We go around trying to fix them, and we can't do the fixing. Everybody has to work on themselves. So just a little bit into this. Why aren't you married? I thought this was really cute. She talked about how, this is chapter 1 actually. She talked about how, you just want to bump these curious Georges or Georgettes on the head for asking you an insensitive, unanswerable question. Of course, there are variations of this query, right? Here we go. So what's a nice girl like you doing single, right? When are you going to settle down and get married? Or here goes the subtle one. So are you married? To which the answer to all of these questions is no. No. Because why? I haven't found somebody to match my energy. I haven't found somebody to, that person, it, right? That that. And that's where some of us are, right? And so it's funny. I got a lot of good comments when we first started this playlist or this segment. Had a lot of great questions, a lot of great comments, even some concerns about, why are you going down this lane? But I think it's a fun lane versus just always being so serious, ladies. I mean, gotta lighten up a little bit and really, really enjoy the journey. So this is my contribution to us enjoying the journey, right? Okay, so a couple of the things that she talked about in Table for One in the chapter of Why Aren't You Married? Again, people, stop asking people that question, right? It's rude and it's insensitive, right? Talk about being a misfit, like at churches, when you go to church, it's now it's more though, when she wrote this book, it may have been that way, but now it's more geared towards, they do have singles ministries, they do have, different singles activities, because before, once upon a time, it was all geared towards, marriage and the family, which is wonderful, nothing knocking it, but what about the singles, right? That really want to get things right and want to do it the right way, right? So it talked about, being that person sitting in the behind. I sit behind a couple in church, and I think they are the cutest couple. The way that they take care of one another, the way that they flow together, I think that is just absolutely, absolutely phenomenal. So it talks about being that third wheel, and how do you conquer that, right? And so I think they talked about and she didn't talk about it in her story, but one of the things was how how do you like sleep at night, right? As far as, do you put all these pillows in your bed and sleep in the middle of the bed? So there's some tricks to it, right? There's some tricks to being good with it, right? She talked about the pity party, which I'm not going to go into that in detail, but that how sometimes it just doesn't seem fair when you have to circle around the parking lot and park in the back and walk up, and you see other women being dropped off at the door, and you just feel like, where's mine, right? So it also talked about, so why aren't you married? How can we rid get rid ourselves of the feeling that sometimes there's something wrong with us just because we are not married. And we automatically jump to the negative response that there's something wrong with us, when actually there's not anything wrong with us. It's just, this is our lot in life and this is where we are right now. But I think it's going to be fun going through the chapters and just kind of putting some tips and some things about, why aren't we married yet? Well, hey, it's a choice. Alrighty, so this is a quick conversation, fun conversation today, while we get deeper and dive deeper into this book, into the book club. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Share this information with somebody else. Listen, learn, leverage this information, but more than that, have fun, enjoy the journey. Alrighty, bye for now. I'll see you next time. And stay fearless.